Hey everyone, Schleicher here from Gaming Trend, and I'm here to tell you about Raccoon Tycoon from Forbidden Games, designed by Glenn Drover and illustrated by Annie Stegg-Gerard. Now, family games are a hard genre to really get into. Oftentimes, you feel like you're playing a game that's so easy that any kid can understand it, and it kind of gets boring for adults. But you can't have it too complex because otherwise kids won't understand it. So having a good balance there is very difficult for a family game, and it really makes it difficult to design. So when I heard about Raccoon Tycoon, I was thinking, well, yeah, that's great that it's a family game and it's going to have this cute little artwork going on. Yeah, we'll see how it goes, but I decided to go ahead and give it a shot and see what would happen. I really wasn't too thrilled to check it out, but I figured this is from Glenn Drover, and I like his stuff. He's designed some really cool games. I admit, knowing that he's done stuff like War Quest and Age of Empires 3, I really wasn't expecting a game like this from him. But let's go ahead, take a look, and see what Raccoon Tycoon is all about. So here's a setup of a game of Raccoon Tycoon. You're going to have your different goods, and they will be marked off at the very bottom of this price ladder. So luxury and goods are worth $3, coal and iron are worth $2, and wood and wheat are worth $1. You have a railroad deck here, and the number of cards that are in that deck are determined by the number of players. You also have one town card here, and there's a town deck to the side that you will draw from after this is taken off. Then you have building tiles here. The first 4 that are available are going to be bonus commodity buildings, and then you're going to have 2 more at the top of the pile of these building tiles, and as the game goes along, you'll be able to get more powerful building tiles from this area here. Each player is going to get $10 in raccoon dollars, or whatever they call them in this game, and they are all going to be in paper money. Now, some of you might be a little disappointed in that, but it's a way to keep costs down, and if you have your own set of poker chips, you can go ahead and use that. Also, every player is going to get a certain number of commodities depending on when they start. So the first player will get 1 commodity of their choice, the second player will get 2 commodities, the third player get 3, and so on and so forth. Now, one of the great things about Raccoon Tycoon is that there are only 5 actions that you can perform on each turn. However, there are different decisions that you can make within each of those actions. The first action is production. Now, every player at the beginning of the game is going to get one of these price and production cards. You'll have 3 in a hand, and you turn one of these in to perform a production action. So you're going to see that at the bottom of this area here, you're going to have your production items, and then at the top, you have the price items. So at the bottom, you can take up to 3 of the different commodities that are listed at the bottom. So you could do 2 iron and a coal, you could do a coal and iron and a goods, or you could do an iron and a coal and a goods, or 2 iron and a goods. There are buildings that will allow you to increase the number of production items you can get, but for the most part, you're only going to be able to select 3. And then at the top, you have these price. So here we have wheat and wood. So what we're going to do is we are going to raise those up by $1. So there is going to be some pricing involved in every single one of those. And now every one of these price and production cards is not going to have 4 on the bottom and 3 on the top. You can see on the one on the left, you have 4 items in the price and 3 commodities in the production. And again, on the right one, you have 4 different commodities in the price. However, the goods will actually go up by $2 instead of just 1. And then again, the production in the bottom only has 3 different commodities in it. If you want, an action you can perform is to sell a commodity. So let's move these a little bit randomly and see where they end up. Okay, so let's say we happen to have a lot of iron and we want to get some money to help us build up our empire. Well, let's say we have 5 iron. Right now it's worth $11. So we would go ahead and turn in that iron and get back $55. However, after you're done with that, you reduce the price of iron by the number of commodities that you turned in. So this would go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's now down to $6. A basic supply and demand type of thing. The third option that you have is to perform a railroad auction. So each one of these different railroads are going to have a name associated with it, and you'll see that on some of these here you're going to have multiple names. So there's Tycoon Railroad and Skunk Works Tycoon, just like there. In the bottom right is going to be the starting bid for each one of these. So to get a Tycoon Railroad, you're going to need to start out a bid at $7. And the bidding goes in order around the table. You can pass, but once you do pass, you can't bid on that auction again. At the end of the game, these are going to be worth victory points. The fourth option that you have is to purchase a building. And you can see down here, 4, 6, 5, 5. The amount that a building is worth is in the bottom right-hand corner. Now, some of the more advanced ones, like this one here, this export company is worth $30, but it'll actually increase the price of a commodity $3 before you sell it. So that's actually a pretty powerful building that you can get here. Then you have a warehouse that lets you store up to 3 more additional commodities. You are only allowed to have 10 commodities at one time. So you can't try to store everything up and wait for the right price. You may actually have to get rid of some goods if you get too many of them. Then you have this freight company. You may sell 2 commodities. So if the action to sell a commodity, instead of selling 1 commodity, you can sell 2 different ones. This mayor's office here, each building is worth an additional victory point at the end of the game. We'll go ahead and explain that. And like Brickworks here, build towns with 1 fewer commodity. And that involves getting a town, which is the last action that we have. You can purchase a town with commodities. So this Blackfriar town here, you can either purchase with 2 coal, or you can turn in 4 of any kind of good. Now, different ones are going to have different commodities that are required to purchase them. Like this one will need 2 wheat or 4 of any, 2 wood. And like here, this one here, you have 4 iron that you need, or 6 of any good that you can bring, or commodity. And 5 is 5 goods here, or any 8 commodities that you want to use to purchase it. The game ends when either the railroad deck here is completely depleted or the town deck is completed. Victory points will be counted at that time, and the way that you count up victory points is you count up the victory points for each town here, and you can see that there in the very middle of the card. The scoring for the railroads is a little bit different though, because you can see that the victory points are listed at the bottom of the card. So on the Skunk Works here, if you have one Skunk Works railroad, then you get 2 points. However, if you have 2, you get 5 points, 9 points if you have 3, and 15 points if you have all 4. Now, that is not for each individual railroad, that's for all of them together. Again, this Tycoon Railroad here, 4, 9, 16, and 25. That's a huge swing there, depending on how many you have. Buildings are also going to be worth a victory point as well. And at the end of the game, you'll pair up your railroads with your towns. And then you'll get an additional 2 points for each town that is paired up with a railroad. At the end of the game, the player with the most victory points is the winner. If there's a tie, then you go to the player with the most cash. So I have to admit I was pleasantly surprised with how Raccoon Tycoon turned out. Now, don't let the cutesy animals trick you. Yes, it makes the game more approachable for families, but there is real depth to this game. Now, granted, I would have liked to probably have seen a little bit more diversity in the economic ladders for the different items that you can produce, but it still has enough variety that you're still going to have a lot of different choices and quite a few swings with how much those different goods cost. What's great about this game is that there's a very limited number of actions you can do. You can only do one of 5 actions during your turn, but within each of those actions, you have to make a decision on what you're going to do. If you want to get some goods, you have to determine which goods you want to get and then determine which prices you want to see go up. Because when you get those items, other goods are going to go up in price. And so you have to kind of balance what goods you're getting. And like if you want to sell something at a certain price point, well, you kind of have to wait and see if someone else has that same good and is actually going to sell it right when you think you're going to, and then all of a sudden that good is worth a lot less money than what you had originally planned. There's a lot of different ways to win in this game. Those buildings are very powerful, but they're also very expensive, so you really have to get a good amount of money to actually go after them. I think that this is a great introduction. I do feel that you're always doing something interesting on every single turn. And I'm very happy that I got a chance to try this out and play it before it went into production. If you're looking at this for a Kickstarter game and you want something that has a little bit of bite to it, but not too much, that families can get involved, something that you can maybe play at holidays, I would highly recommend Raccoon Tycoon.